All right, welcome to the last week of community groups for the winter season. It's been great walking through the first 11 chapters of the book of Genesis with you, talking about origins, talking about the fall, and kind of like queuing up the rest of the Bible in terms of what is the human condition and why do we fail at taking care of it and why do we need the Lord to do that for us. This week, we looked at the Tower of Babel. And if you remember from the message, I talked about how we do all of these things independently of God, perhaps even to avoid doing the things that God actually wants us to be doing. So we talked about how the ways in which we seek security, right? The ways in which maybe even we seek spirituality. We reach out to the divine, but in ways that God has not given us to do that. And we've also talked about ways of making ourselves important, making a name for ourselves. And so if you're looking for some things to think about, to talk about during your community group, you might want to think about like, what are some ways in which I do this, right? And maybe, and again, what are some ways that I do this to avoid specifically doing what God wants me to do? And then what are some ways in which, as God did at Babel, what are some ways in which God has shown me that he is very unimpressed with my efforts to do these things? And just like God did not bring another flood in response to human sin, but instead kind of gently nudges them out, how has he gently nudged you out to put you in places where he wants you to be, specifically, right? Because again, we're talking about the Tower of Babel, in putting you with people alongside one another, people who are different from you. Because remember how the gospel is very much a reversal of Babel, where God is calling people from every tribe, nation, and tongue, specifically people who are different from one another, to serve and to walk alongside Jesus together despite our differences. So there's a few ideas. Remember, as I said, this is the last week of community groups. You get a week off, and then we're back into it on the week of April 16th. So we hope to see you again then. But until then, have a great discussion today.